Dear reader, allow me to introduce you to my book. Though it might at first appear like many books you've come across, it is far from ordinary. You may, therefore, have some misunderstandings about its nature. The story that awaits you has not been fully told. In fact, its conclusion is not yet known, even to myself. It is in that way that my book is special. It is in that way that you are special. Without you, there is no story. Chapter 1. Normal isn't what it used to be. This is a story about change. Nestled in a shallow valley is the town of Beacon Pines. Far from the town square, across the river, past the neglected welcome sign, a young boy walks alone at dawn. His name is Luca Van Horn, and like you, dear reader, he's here for a reason. Was Luca's closest friend. He possessed many fine qualities, but subtlety was not one of them. Finally noticed the tears welling in his friend's eyes and the flowers on the grave.
น้องน่ารักอะเกมอะไรน่ารักขนาดนี้แต่ภาพหน้าปกมันไม่ใช่ เดี๋ยวรอดูกันอนุญาตเปิดดูสตรีมแชทแป๊บหนึ่ง
Wonderful! I had a good feeling about you from the moment you opened my book. That charm is a very special thing. Very special indeed. Keep hold of it for now. Its purpose will reveal itself soon enough. look to the side suspiciously. Dear reader, forgive me for this interlude. Remember that charm you found in the dandelion patch? There are more of those special charms to discover throughout Beacon Pines. They've been known to reveal themselves to those who are willing. Some of them can be found in this very house. Since Gran had moved in, the house was more peaceful, more orderly. And more covered in flowery fabric. An array of prepared meals crowded the refrigerator, each labeled with the day of the week. Oh my, this is quite exciting. I am now certain that you are the one I've been waiting for all these years. You'll recall I was a bit coy regarding the use of charms earlier. Excuse me, I tend to have a flair for the dramatic. You are about to encounter your first turning point. There are certain times in this tale when everything hinges on a single word. Step forth, dear reader. Young Luca would spend hours hiding in the bushes, waiting for a chance to jump out and startle his mother. She always enjoyed humoring him by feigning terror. A sturdy old wheelbarrow. On the other hand, Gran will be waiting when you... A pair of dull scissors, a broken can opener, a mostly empty bottle of glue, and some loose string. The only piece of furniture Gran had brought when she moved in was an old hutch. Just some dusty knickknacks. Gran had already lit the fire. She kept a warm house, as if by grandmotherly obligation. One of his father's old stethoscopes. Luca had spent countless hours listening to anything and everything with it. Not for years, though. Luca paused at his parents' bedroom door. He just wasn't ready to go in yet. Gran had commandeered the upstairs closet when she moved in. "Some things need shelter from a young boy's mischief," she said. Luca tossed on his favorite old sweater. Even though it was the first day of summer, a chill still hung in the air. Gran's moving in meant that most of Luca's things had been crammed in the corner. Luca was somewhat annoyed by the situation. Gran's bed was undisturbed. Luca didn't mind that she had a habit of falling asleep in front of the fireplace. It meant that he could read late into the night. A beginner's guide to gardening laid open on the bench. The less Gran knew, the better for everyone involved. Just gonna go chill for the day. But best lies are built on truth. Easy. Impressive. You've managed to navigate your first turning point without too much of a mess. That is the power of charms. A single word can change everything. I think it's time to introduce you to the Chronicle. The Chronicle is a record of the decisions you've made. You can see the turning point which has been revealed. At any time, you can use the Chronicle to go back and invoke different charms, creating new branches. Luckily for us, this is the one and only turning point where the charms won't dramatically alter fate. It's the perfect opportunity to experiment with rewriting things. We were just gonna go ponder for the day. This was Luca's chance to sell his alibi. Nailed it.
เล่นเกมอะไรก็ไม่รู้อยู่ฮะรู้แค่ชื่อเบคอนพายไม่รู้ว่าเป็นเกมแนวไหนแต่ แต่ว่าน่ารักอะเกมมันน่ารักมากเลยอะใช่
For a town that saw few visitors, the welcome was perhaps more grand than. The road leading to Beacon Pines was long and uninspiring, a sort of natural barrier for the impatient. Chapter 2. Welcome to Beacon Pines. For many years, this valley had been a small mining outpost. It wasn't until Sharper Valentine built his fertilizer Over the next 30 years, the town had grown and until the foul harvest. In the 6 years since, everyone was simply trying to get by. Mayor Augustus Valentine was not busy. Flustered, Gus instinctively loosened his tongue. William Kerr was the CEO of Perennial Harvest Company. He had become a fixture around town over the past few years. After the failing of Valentine fertilizer, the town was hungry to welcome a new source of employment. Mr. Sinclair continued snoring and lifted one eyelid just enough to see who it was, a tactic he often used to avoid undesirable conversation. He pulled a pen from the pocket of his sweater vest and began to frantically jot something down on a clipboard. Pete stopped scribbling and glanced up from the clipboard. Whenever Luca saw his dad's chair by the pond, it reminded him of the days they'd pack up a couple of sandwiches and fish until sundown. Luca opened the tackle box and picked the perfect. Luca tied a shoestring to the hook. What fish could resist a nice shoestring? Luca tied a what fish could resist. Luca gently baited a feather onto the hood for skimming the surface. Luca gently good for skimming. Luca tied a what fish could resist. Luca tied what fish. The boys had a good thing going. As long as they kept old Jeff happy, they had an endless source of precious mint. After Luca's father had passed, Rollo became obsessed with them building their own Hank atomic star scraper. It was some time before Luca realized on certain nights, when the clouds were just right, the boys could tune into strange patterns of static. Rollo thinks it's alien. He always thinks it's aliens. Luca's winter coat decommissioned for the summer. With the cold holding out longer than usual, he reconsidered its usefulness. Luca could see the morning regulars nestled in their booths at the early bean. Miss Hatch could often be found near the fountain, too absorbed in a book to be distracted. Oh, right. Rendezvous with Roxy. This is an important turning point. The first time where your charms will change the course of fate. And currently, we only have one suitable charm at our disposal. Have no fear, we can always return later using the Chronicle once we find more charms. Well, now I'm just rambling. Where were we? froze as Roxy took a step toward him, cracking her knuckles. Luca knew he had one chance to save his friend from being dragged home. In the past, he found the best way to deal with an enraged Roxy was to be a little chill. A bit much, if you ask. Holden Wilder ran the local paper of record, the Beacon. Dawn had dreams of becoming a big-time reporter. At night, she searched for the story that could be her big break. By day, she hawked papers at the newsstand. for the day. The best lies are easy. In the past, he found the best way to deal with an enraged Roxy was to be a little chill. Jeff's hardware closed down about a year ago. The effects of the foul harvest stretched wide. When there are no crops in the field, tractors don't need fixing. Lucan knew that if he gave up now, he'd never hear the end of it from Rollo. A promise Gran regretted the second it was made. The phone booth was brand new, part of Perennial Harvest's Beacon Pines Reborn initiative. It didn't see much use. The path led into a small hollow at the edge of wheat. The fence thrummed with a gentle electric. Luca often asked himself what Rollo would do, so that he could rule out that option. As sparks flew from the fence, the light atop that section shut off. 2 bulbs remained. One more to go. Luca knew. In the past, he found the best way to deal with an enraged Roxy was to be a little chill. A promise. Luca peeked up. It appeared to be deserted. After the foul harvest destroyed their wealth and reputation, the Valentines shuttered off their estate from the rest of town. The Valentine mansion loomed over every other building, both figuratively and literally. The path led. The fence. Luca. So. As sparks, two bulbs. One more to go. The fence. Every kid in town knew the old Valentine fertilizer building. Long abandoned, the warehouse once served as the industrial heart of Beacon Pines. Now, it stood only as a reminder of things left behind. The dormant building showed strange signs of life. There was only one way to find out. The water looked almost diseased. It flowed slowly into the woods. The hose emitted a subtle sound. It was actively draining some kind of liquid. Luca thought he heard faint sounds come. He pressed his ear against the cold metal. The sound of footsteps grew louder. The heavy steel door knocked Luca to the ground. Disoriented, he looked up to see an imposing figure silhouetted in a green glow. It lunged toward him. He tried to scramble away, but felt a gloved hand latch onto his ankle. Luca watched his fingernails leave trails in the dirt as the hand slowly dragged him back through the door, into the lab, into the green light. This is a story about change. It was far from the sort of change Luca imagined for himself. But change is, after all, a dangerous animal. The end? I probably should have warned you about this. There are many paths that our story can take. Most will end in tragedy. But don't let that discourage you. We will find the ending that this story deserves. From here on out, a charm will have a check mark when it's been used to its full potential at a given turning point. Now, let's try something. In the past, he found the best way to deal with an enraged Roxy was to be a little shit. Solomon Valentine, current ward of and future successor to the Valentine fortune, huffed as he brushed off his pants. Solomon trifled a gesture toward the approaching heiress Valentine. As the glowing windows of the old warehouse came into view, Rollo began to bounce. The boy sat petrified under the weight of the bag. Rollo felt around at the large sack which burdened. He snapped off a tag from just within a small zipper opening in the bag. Rollo held the badge up to a faint shaft of light within the dumpster. Lucas sat in the dark, tracking the sound of Rollo's footsteps as he ran. 1, 2, 3. He pressed his ear to the dumpster wall, straining to hear Rollo's footsteps as they faded away. 15, 6:35. Screw it, that's long enough. Luca carefully lifted the lid. Nothing. No sign of Rollo. No sign of the man in the yellow suit. Time to haul ass. Luca clambered from the dumpster, stumbling to his knees. He was up like a shot and running, sprinting toward home as fast as he could. Beacon Pines flew by, blurred by the tears that welled up in his eyes. He wouldn't remember getting home at all that night. throwing his front door open, storming up the stairs to his room, and surrendering to sleep almost as abruptly as he hit his pillow. Chapter 3: Finding a Friend. The next morning, it was quieter than usual at the breakfast table. Only the sound of silverware and chewing interrupted. She let out a long sigh. Her voice was quiet and even.